Today, we're going to talk ADHD, and I'm going to pose a question to start. And the question is this: what are the positive traits that you associate with individuals that have ADHD? So odds are either you have ADHD or someone you love has ADHD, because 12% of the current US population has ADHD. I know for myself, I have ADHD, and I can tell you the strength of having ADHD is that I think like a spider web at all times. So at all times, if we're thinking about an issue, I think about the 20 contributors to that issue and how they all come together to contribute to that issue. And that is really, really important when you're a therapist, because you're dealing with human beings, and human beings are complex and multifaceted, and there's multiple factors to consider with any issue. So I really see that as my superpower, and I attribute the superpower to having ADHD, this thinking like a spider web about everything in all times, because the answer is never a true or false. The answer is never a fill in the blank. The answer is never A, B, C, D, or E. The answer is always an all of the above. So I really appreciate my ADHD, and for me, that is my superpower. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to dive into the largest study to date on ADHD and the positive characteristics associated with ADHD. I can't wait to dive into this, because if you have ADHD like I do, right now you're at the end of the school year and you have a mound of paperwork that's taller than you are. And you're probably making little tiny mistakes in those paperwork, like you may have a date wrong or something like that, because you're too big, you're too much in your spider web thinking of all the things at once. But if you are like that, I want you to give yourself grace, and I want you to think of the positives. The negatives is you're like me and you have a pile of paperwork, and I'm 5'9", so it's a tall pile of paperwork that you have a week to complete, which I will. I'll have everything complete on time, that's for sure. And you have to worry about having a date, a mistake on a date or something like that. So you have to pay attention to that business on your Medicaid billing. All right, so that said, let's dive into the positive aspects of ADHD. So the study I'm going to share with you is called a ground theory study. It's based on ground theory research. And that sounds really cool. Like you just want to take your hands out and make little root hands and say ground theory. Oh, this is good. We're getting to the root of it. And what they do here is they ask open-ended questions to people who have ADHD. And they ask them exactly what I just asked you. They ask, what is positive about having ADHD? What are positive characteristics that come with it? And then the people can speak in paragraphs and give these long responses, and they transcribe them all. And then afterwards, they look for themes. They say, okay, we took 206 responses, and they say, oh, there's some things in common here. And we see 5 common themes. So that's where it's grounded theory. They went to the ground level. They took the real words, the real language of the individuals. Then they analyzed that, and they looked for some trends. Then after that, they can take that data later on and they can study it more in a quantitative, more systematized manner after getting the root of it from the individuals that are closest to it. So that's the type of research it is, the ground theory research, and that's what we're looking at today. Now, what happened is they found 5 themes emerged. Now, these 5 themes, 4 of them have been shown in smaller studies previously. One of them was unique to this study. Now, what makes this study special is its number. Because they have 202 individuals, it's likely that it's more reflective of the general population of adults with ADHD. The first one was creativity. So creativity is being imaginative, being resourceful. This is something that individuals with ADHD are more likely. So one individual we can think of in being resourceful is the founder of Nike. He had his waffle iron, which was a rubber waffle iron sole. That was his inspiration. He was having breakfast one morning for the sole of the Nike track shoe. So that's the kind of imaginative, resourceful, creative thinking. And he's someone who is self-proclaimed as an individual who has ADHD. The second one is being dynamic. So being dynamic is high energy, positive attitude, and adventurous. The people with ADHD, the adults are saying that they are more likely than the average population to be dynamic. The third attribute was flexibility. So this was the only attribute that wasn't reported in previous research studies. But in flexibility, they felt that having ADHD, you're more likely to be open-minded, spontaneous, and have a broad view of the world. So number 4 was social affective skills. And this is having a strong sense of social justice, being empathetic towards others, and having an ability to be very perceptive of how others in the room are feeling. Now, the fifth one is higher order cognitive. So these are the ability to be analytic, the ability to hyper focus on interest for very long periods of time, and the ability to think super fast on your feet. So these were the 5 skills that the research indicated people with ADHD felt that they had a higher than normal ability with, and that was due to the ADHD. Now, is this the emperor's clothes? I mean, how do we know this perception is correct? Because we know that there is a self-biased perception in which the majority of people tend to think that they're smarter, that they're kinder, that they're more beautiful than average. So we can't really have that because really that should be 50%, right? So we tend to rate ourselves more favorably than the average population. And we don't really know in this case if that's what's happening. If these people with ADHD are perceiving themselves as having strengths that really they don't have. It's simply perception. So what they wanted to do next is they took a focus group of 5 individuals and they talked about each of these areas and said, do you agree with these 5 themes that emerged? Do you think that in depth, do you see these traits in yourself as higher than average? And they confirmed it, these 5 individuals did, but that is not really objective data, right? We're still in the realm of subjective, a lot of qualitative data. What we'd really need to know is this true? Is this quantitatively, objectively, scientifically true? Well, we could actually find out if there's some truth to these attributes. And we could do that by testing them. We could do that by third-party objective observer looking at a video in which a team works together to create something or solve a problem. You could even look at the papers written in response to an issue and how the papers are written and compare the individuals with ADHD versus those without ADHD. You could also take different tests and compare each of these skills on a test level when you match for everything else except for the presence of ADHD versus their neurotypical adults. So there could be some quantitative assessments found to see, is this true? Are these really strengths that are more likely to exist in populations that have ADHD? Or is this simply perception? So we really don't have the quantitative data. We simply have this belief that individuals with ADHD have that these are strengths of theirs. So where could these strengths be useful? These strengths could be useful in the area of counseling. So it could even either be for social emotional purposes or vocational purposes for individuals with ADHD to help them overcome challenges. Could be something that builds the self-efficacy of the individual with ADHD. So this is important information to know, and that this is something that could serve as a strengthener that could help people with ADHD overcome their challenges and make better choices that capitalize on these skills. So today's episode was short, and it was short for a reason because this gal with ADHD has a lot of work to do. But I want you to take this information, roll up your sleeves, and make the world a better place, one person at a time. You are always going to be first.